August 2024, where this month, as the ones of you watching know, we've had a variety of writers. The whole month we've had a different writer for each month. The writer for today is Reverend Dr. Michael Gott. He's the current senior minister at Unity of Houston, and he's also he's both an ordained Science of Mind minister and an ordained Unity minister. And he's actually been to our center in the not too distant past when Reverend Lisa was ordained, which was 9 months to a year before me. Reverend Michael Gott came up and he was part of that ceremony, and she had asked him to come. And we had known him actually long before he became the senior minister at Houston, or a minister at Unity of Houston. He actually visited us as a professional singer. And that's how I first knew him before he became a minister. We knew him as a professional singer. And he's a very good singer, actually. In April 2017, he wrote the Daily Guides. And at the beginning, he quoted Maya Angelou, who said, "You may not control all the events that happen to you, but you can decide not to be influenced by them." So I thought that was kind of cool. And if this thing, oh yeah, it did actually. Sometimes technology doesn't always work like you want it to. I've actually spent a good part of the day trying to clean up all the links between my different social media outlets and seeing if I can just easily connect with them and to them and through them. So we'll see what happens. In the introduction to that month, September 2017 guides, he said, "In New Thoughts and Science of Mind, we often speak of timeless truth. So why would we devote an issue of our magazine, which was the thing back then, to the evolution of our movement?" He says there's a beautiful paradox at play here. God never changes and God always changes. The unformed, perfect nature of spirit is truly the same yesterday, today, and forever. Timeless, and yet this perfect presence and intelligence must reveal itself in the realm of time, space, and form. And here is where the changes occur. Something becomes, something reveals. And then he goes on to talk a little bit more about that. And as I said, he's the senior minister at Unity. I was going to say in the Woodlands. There is a Unity in the Woodlands, but he's not senior minister of that. He's a minister at the much bigger Unity of Houston, which is sometimes called the Pyramid, because, oh, shaped like a pyramid. So let's see what he's got to say today. A world transformed. First quote is from A Course in Miracles. I'm sure you've all heard of A Course in Miracles. It's got a lot of good stuff in it. I got a couple of reservations about it, but I would say 95% of it is positive, and 10% of it is something that I found a little bit hard to agree with, and I'll tell you why afterwards. When the mind has only light, it knows only light. Its own radiance shines all around it and extends into the darkness of other minds, transforming them into majesty. And Ernest Holmes, in this thing called You, said, "Your faith can penetrate clouds of unbelief and reveal the truth, capital T, which is forever perfect. Your words do not create this truth. They merely reveal it." And then, obviously, Michael Gott was not brought up in this area, and you'll see why in a second. One of my favorite experiences as a child was waking up on a snow day, waiting for the local television news to announce that, yes, there would be no school that day. An unexpected holiday. I can relate to this. The sweetest moment, looking back at it now, though, was not the break away from school. It was walking out of the front door of our house and seeing the world transformed. The mundane and familiar became the magical and the new. The shabby, ordinary place I knew had become pristine and perfect. I knew this world, and yet it was totally different. He says, as I reflect on that feeling now, I realize that I've had a similar experience in my spiritual evolution. I've had those breakthrough moments of healing, of releasing false beliefs and limited ideas that have transformed my reality into something of wonder and possibility. I see the same world, but it's different. In truth, when we experience this transformation in our spiritual lives, it's not because something is covering the lesser form, like the snow covering the ground. Rather, it's because the lesser version of our reality has been revealed to be false, or at least partial. We're now seeing it more truly. The good of the divine has been here all along, awaiting our recognition. So yeah, I recall as a kid, very definitely waking up to snow days. Unfortunately, in my years of what I guess here would be junior high and high school, rough equivalent, 11 through 18, say, we didn't always get off that easily. The thing was, if the bus service could run, and it was public bus service, these weren't school buses. I actually caught two different buses to get from where I lived to my school, St. Mary's College. It was run by priests. So I had to get one bus from where I lived into downtown and one from downtown up to our college, which was on a big hill. So getting from our house to downtown, usually it had to be pretty bad for the buses not to run. And sometimes we'd actually have to get out. Everybody would have to get off the bus and push the bus out of snowdrifts. But they were determined we got to town. Problem was, from town up to St. Mary's College, it was on a big hill. And sometimes it was hard getting up that hill. And that's kind of equivalent to how we are in our regular lives, right? I mean, sometimes it's plain sailing and you just go, and it's like no issues whatsoever. Other times there are minor problems get in the way. Like from our house to downtown on the bus, yeah, there were obstacles, but there were ways and means around the obstacles. And when enough people got behind and pushed the bus, like 30 people, then the bus would move, you know. And then there's those big obstacles, like trying to get from the center of town up to St. Mary's College, with that last half of the journey was up, I mean, a really, really steep hill. Think San Francisco, you know, that kind of hill. And in our lives, sometimes we see things like that. But the point is that when we do our spiritual work, we can see beyond the difficulties and we can see to our goal, which in my case was the school, you know, St. Mary's College. So that's just what it's like in life sometimes, that we have easy times, we have moderately difficult times, sometimes we have really difficult times. But if we've done our spiritual work, we can keep our eyes on the goal, and then we know that we can always get there. And that's kind of the same that Robert Michael's talking about here, is that when we've done our spiritual work, the false beliefs that have got in the way gradually start to fade away. And once we get through those false beliefs, then we can see the truth in each situation. So whether you're doing spiritual mind treatment for a new house, or for somebody to get well again, or to have more money in the bank, it really doesn't matter. One thing that comes to mind, actually, which is kind of relevant to this, and I've mentioned it once or twice before. My wife and I once went to Maui. Wonderful. February in Maui is fantastic. But we didn't go to enjoy the weather. We actually went on a conference. And as part of that conference, they were teaching us how to break a board, a 1-inch, or maybe it was a 2-inch board, with our bare hands. And obviously the point was to get beyond difficulties, just like we're talking about now. And the whole thing about breaking the board was that you needed to learn the technique of how to hit the board properly with your hand, so you didn't damage your hand. But in order to break the board, what you actually had to do was to look beyond the board, and they would have you write a goal. that you wanted to achieve. And that goal would be beyond the board. And one person will be holding the board. And then back here would be your goal, or sometimes posted on the back of the board. And your job was to actually see beyond the board to the goal. And when you looked the whole time at the goal, hit the board broke. But if you even fractionally took your eyes off the goal and looked at the board, even for a fraction, the board did not break. So it just shows you as an example that when we keep our eyes on the goal, that all the stuff, the false beliefs, limiting ideas that get in the way just fade away when we keep sticking to our goal. And that's why we do our spiritual work. That's why we do something every day of a spiritual nature. And guess what? Reading and listening to things like this are part of your spiritual work. How about that? So if you listen to some of my colleagues, you might get a 20-minute exercise. If you listen to me, you'll get a 10 minutes exercise. But it really doesn't matter. You know, the whole thing is listen to something uplifting each day. Michael kind of went wild with his affirmation, quote unquote. There's actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 affirmations in there. I've written them down. Take your pick. I open my spiritual eyes to see my life differently. You can see the relevance to what we've been talking about. Every problem is radiant with possibility. There again, new ideas and revelations are here for me today. I welcome a new way of seeing, and my world is transformed. So take your pick, use one, use them all, use your own, doesn't matter. Tomorrow, 2 things. Reverend Lisa at 9 o'clock, or maybe it'll be 9:30. I've been watching you, Reverend Lisa, and you've been coming on about 9:25, 9:30. So anyway, 11 o'clock, we will be on the dot because we will be broadcasting it to the world as our service. And it's a brand new series that Reverend Jesse is going to start with. It's a wonderful series, so tune in tomorrow to find out more about what it is. And if you get our newsletter, hey, guess what? And you've read it, you already know, right? And if you don't get it, info@creativelife.org, right? So there you go. And if you would like to share our videos with other people, our messages, we would be really appreciative. And guess what? When you share, you also benefit, because sharing in itself as a human activity brings satisfaction. So please, if you like our videos, please share them. Give us a like, yes, but please share them. We'd appreciate it. Whatever medium you get it on, share it. And if you want to post it to other mediums, that's even better. Well, that's me for today. I'm done, and I will be back tomorrow, hopefully at 5, since it's yes, enjoy this long weekend. If you get Labor Day off, like most people do, please enjoy it. It's really meant for your enjoyment. Get together with family, stay where you are, really doesn't matter. Whatever floats your boat, yeah? Okay. So just remember that the light of God surrounds us, and the love of God enfolds us, and the power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us, because everywhere we are, God is, and all is well. Namaste.